I just came across a video that showed a map of America before colonization, and I found it so funny that some of the most sacred lands that we know, such as Jerusalem, Morocco, Egypt, all originated here. They all exist on maps pre-colonization. After colonization, these areas' names were changed.
I know this is gonna sound crazy, but do the research and you're gonna be surprised at what you find. The elders told us that the original Nile was here. Old man Mississippi, the Missouri being the blue and the Ohio being the white. And until this day, where them two come together, there's a city there called Cairo to this day. And that area is called Little Egypt.
This is the first time we're gonna send humans to the moon.
This is the first time we're gonna send humans to the moon.
What did you say? And when I look at the future, when we talk about what is our legacy, I want to look 100 or 200 years in the future. This is where I thought this might land wrong. I hope we're forgotten.
What?
Facebook is a psyop that everybody fell for. Mark Zuckerberg is not even his real name. He's a CIA op whose name is Jakub Greenberg, and he's the grandson of David Rockefeller. Zuckerberg is a German word for Sugar Mountain, their clandestine word for Facebook. This is Sugar Mountain and their data mining.
The Macy's Day Parade has never sat right with me. A spectacle that big must be trying to hide something. So I went to the New York Public Library to dip into the archives, and I stumbled upon an old Thanksgiving tradition called Ragamuffin Day.
Israel has bought ChatGPT questions related to the history of Christianity and will now be altering answers to be more friendly to Israel.
This man may have proven human photosynthesis, claiming that the human body only needs light and water to function, and has been called crazy for it.
Epstein was technically not a perv, he was a mad scientist.
Ashley D'Angelo said his main goal was to hold the torch and teach the youth, and that is because white people don't know that Elvis Presley stole that torch by playing blues covers written solely by black artists at a time when black music was banned on every radio station. White people don't know that the British invasion went on to hold that same torch, despite the fact that none of them could play, right? My only point being that Elvis Presley, the Rolling Stones, NSYNC, the Justins, Taylor Swift, they never really had the torch, and that's why they have nothing to teach our kids.
AI has the ability to make things up, which means hallucinate. Is it right that police departments are using those technologies to write police reports automatically? Because they're doing it all over the country right now. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Anthropic are always prone to making things up because they're word calculators. They don't actually understand language. We can never eliminate that because it's a byproduct of how the technology works. Do you want that technology being used to record the conversation between you and your doctor? OpenAI has a tool called Whisper. It's a transcription tool. You can go look this up right now. It hallucinates and makes stuff up that you didn't say and your doctor didn't say, and they don't care because you don't care. Do you want AI surveilling you when you're on the bus? Do you want the buses to have cameras in them to automatically take pictures of your license plate and send you a ticket if you're parked wrong? If you don't, then make that a city law. It doesn't have to be Trump agrees with you. It can just be your city council people do. The first AI laws were at a city level. City of Berkeley banned facial recognition in police body cams because it didn't work. Those people in that city said, our police department cannot use this specific technology. They didn't try to figure out the best way the entire AI system needs to be built. It's for this specific use case, this specific behavior is not allowed. And that's how we write all laws. When the light is red, you are not allowed to go through it or you will get a ticket. The technology in and of itself is not inherently bad. It's the use case that's bad. So we regulate the use case as of August of last year. The idea that people can take a picture of you off of your social media, run it through AI to make nudes is criminally illegal. They made a requirement that the social media platforms have the ability for you to report when someone's done that with your pictures, your photos, or your videos. These solutions are individual parents saying, if a little boy in my daughter's class takes a picture of her and makes a nude of it and passes around, he should go to jail. That's what I think is right. And they passed a law to reflect that. Yeah. So this future we want to move towards, we can all shape it if we stop making it more complicated than it is. Bring it back down to humanity the same way our ancestors have done. So those who will call us ancestors live in a reality that they can take forward instead of one that they have to undo because we did nothing.
I don't know if you are attacking DEI because you convinced yourself that racism and discrimination doesn't exist anymore, or if you've just convinced yourself that it's okay. What I do know is that white supremacist groups still feel emboldened enough to march openly in American streets. People are proudly proclaiming themselves racist and bigots on social media and even national television. And I know that it'll be those people that are cheering and applauding for you the loudest when you decide to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion in our schools. And the fact that doesn't give you pause, that it doesn't make you feel sick and slimy, tells me everything I need to know about you. When I look at you, the 6 of you that'll vote against this, I'm disgusted. But I'm also grateful. I'm grateful for all the experiences I had that kept me from being like you. You see, there's racists and bigots in my family. I heard the N-word and derogatory jokes growing up, but when I found myself on my own before I'd even graduated high school, that family wasn't there to help me. My friend Liliana's family was. They were Guatemalan immigrants. If it wasn't for them, I probably would have gotten a lot more trouble than I did. Did you know that immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than U.S. citizens?
He's right.
Statistically. And then there was my friend Trey's mom, taking care of all those kids all on her own. Still somehow always able still to find a prayer and a plate for me too. Did you know that black mothers are more than 3 times as likely to be single moms than white mothers?
He's right.
Statistically. It was the queer kids that helped me learn how to navigate life on the streets. Did you know that LGBTQ kids are more than twice as likely than their peers to be homeless?
Right again.
Statistically. But because of those kids, when my child came out to me, I was able to be the father that they needed, despite all of the religious indoctrination I've been subjected to. Did you know it's more likely your priest will be a predator than your kid will be trans?
Dang.
Statistically. Now, I know you don't care about my stories or my statistics. Your fear and ignorance has got you so turned around rather than embracing the future you're clinging desperately to echoes of the past. That future, it's still coming, and it doesn't look much like you, statistically. Shout out to the student speakers. You may be blind, but these kids aren't. They see you. More than that, they see that you do not see them. So tonight, after you vote against their future and go home to bask in the approval of racists and bigots,
Dang.
don't mistake this for a day that we stood in your way and couldn't stop you. No, today's the day you decided to stand in the way of these kids and their future. And someday, sooner than you think, they're going to run right over you and not even look back. Make good decisions.
Can't talk about autism without talking about white supremacy, and this painting by Anishinaabe artist Norvell Morrisseau is going to show us exactly why. So on the left is an indigenous animist cosmology where the human body does not end at the skin. Perception is entangled with land and animals and ancestors and spirit. Reality is multi-dimensional, relational, and alive. On the right is the European cosmology that arrived through colonization, patriarchal, materialist, hierarchical. So what does this mean? The human being is an object among other objects. You can see this in the painting. The witch trials, the destruction of indigenous Europe, and centuries of spiritual repression left a worldview anchored in traumatic dissociation. So relationship becomes hierarchical, competitive, and controlled. When these cosmologies collided, the violence was not only physical, it was also spiritual. And the victors, through obscene conquest, decided what counts as normal in our society. So for hundreds of years, white European men have controlled the definition of what is scientific, what is real, what is rational, what is human, and what is disordered. And these definitions shaped eugenics, institutionalization, forced sterilization, and the euthanizing of autistic people. Why? Because autism has been named a disorder inside this traumatized, spiritually severed, linear worldview. There are characteristics of the autistic brain and nervous system that directly threaten colonial, quote unquote, normalcy. Number one, a porous boundary between the self and the energetic field. So the autistic perception is less dissociated, it is more attuned, it is exactly what colonial rationality rejects. Differences in mirror neuron syncing. Autistic people don't automatically fall into hierarchical social scripts or perform the emotional obedience that colonial order has always depended on. less synaptic pruning. The autistic brain retains more pathways, meaning it takes in more of the relational field instead of collapsing reality into a single linear channel. So when you see autism through this lens, the pathologizing makes a lot of sense. Autistic people have always threatened the colonial worldview, not because we're disordered, but because we perceive too much. We feel what other people numb. We notice what others filter out. We register the living world that the dominant culture has been violently trained to ignore. So for many autistic people, even the smallest microaggression can carry this same clash of cosmologies. You're gaslit for perceiving quote unquote too much. Your sensitivity becomes a weapon that is used against you, and your access to a wider, truer field of reality is framed as a defect by someone who's comfortably ensconced in the very narrow band of consciousness that has been labeled sanity.
Victor, Christina, Jeremy, we're going to the moon. When we get off the planet, we might come right back home. We might spend 3 or 4 days around Earth. We might go to the moon. That's where we want to go, but it is a test mission.
The 45 minutes that we're closest to the lunar surface are also going to be out of contact. We are going to have an LOS in NASA terms, a loss of signal. And while we cannot talk to the planet and our friends that are even in space on the International Space Station, I would love it if the entire world, those 8 billion people Jeremy mentioned, could come together and just, be hoping and praying for us to get that acquisition of signal and be back in touch with everybody.
We might find nothing, but it's definitely worth looking. And now I'm totally bought in. We're going to be like, I hope we don't make something up.
I hope we don't make something up.
When you see numbers like Mach 39 at entry, when you see numbers like 38,000 miles, 250,000 miles, 5-6 million pounds on the pad, those are just insane numbers. Like, those are just not numbers that humans generally think about.
Oh my God! Wow!
We were flying in a sim yesterday and watching the miles click down. What did we say we were doing, like 5 or 7 miles?
7 miles a second.
Coming back to Earth. So these numbers just, you don't even comprehend.
America leads the way in space exploration. As Courtney noted, a NASA-funded telescope, the Atlas Survey Telescope in Chile, first reported observations of the comet on July 1st, 2025 to the Minor Planet Center. And NASA has been tracking and studying Comet 3I Atlas ever since. We're here today to give you the latest of what we know about Comet 3I Atlas and what we still want to know. But first, what is a comet? It's a small, natural solid body that is a combination of rocky and icy material that evaporates as it warms when it's close to a star, like the sun. But to start with, I'd like to address the rumors right at the beginning. I think it's important that we talk about that. This object is a comet. It looks and behaves like a comet, and all evidence points to it being a comet. But this came from outside the solar system, which makes it fascinating, exciting, and scientifically very important. This is only the third interstellar object like this that humanity has ever found. And a little bit more about the rumors. I think it's very important, and I'm actually very excited that a lot of the world was speculating about the comet while NASA was in a period where we couldn't speak about it due to the recent government shutdown. I think what I took away from that whole experience and watching that as we were working during the shutdown was just how interested and how excited people were about the possibility of what this comet could be. There was a lot of speculation about what it could be, but what I think is really awesome is that folks are interested in this incredible finding that we observed and that came from the heavens, and what that means, what it could mean about how magical the universe could be. It expanded people's brains to think about how magical the universe could be. And I'll tell you, here at NASA, we think that every day, and so it's really great that you were able to join us while we were, not able to comment because of the shutdown constraints about what that comet is, because we think that the universe is a magical place, and we spend your treasure and we spend all of our time trying to make sure that we explore that and share with you as much as we can. In fact, we want very much to find signs of life in the universe. In fact, just a few months ago, we were with you and we talked about what we think might be the signal from ancient life on the surface of Mars, from our amazing machines that have been roving the planet for 30 years to look for those things.
All right, as you see, they're trying to listen into this really breaking press conference there from NASA as we just lost that shot, unfortunately, here on Live Now as we thought. So to show you just a behind-the-scenes view of what we're watching. So we have a few different vantage points that we're working to try to here kind of work behind the scenes to make sure we can get this back.
Epstein already knew that the global population is heading down and 45% of women will be single and childless by 2030. Epstein Island was a distraction from Zorro Ranch. Zorro Ranch is in New Mexico and he chose it for a reason. Zorro Ranch is a deep, underground military base. It's right down the street from Trementina Base, a bunker and vault complex owned by the Church of Spiritual Technology, an elite order within the Church of Scientology. Scientology's Secret Vault, a rare interview with a former member of the Church of Spiritual Technology. Epstein wanted to turn his New Mexico ranch into a baby-making factory. It's actually a eugenics project. Epstein reportedly hoped to develop a super race of humans with his DNA. He wanted to do this as a part of his fascination with transhumanism. He wanted to go as far as freezing his brain to spread his DNA. Epstein wasn't dealing with politicians, he was really dealing with scientists that MIT, Harvard, and elsewhere face continued fallout over Epstein connections. Private jets, parties, and eugenics? Jeffrey Epstein's bizarre world of science. So what kind of research did Epstein like to fund? He told scientists before he faked his unaliving, the felon liked rebels. They keep saying celebrities, but they didn't tell you he likes to pal around with scientists.
I'm gonna sound like a broken record for some, but I don't think people realize who and what we're dealing with here. And if you don't know what the CIA is, it's a talent agency that manages anyone from LeBron James to Dolly Parton to Matt Rife to Beyonce. The two largest stakeholders of the CIA are Henry Pennell and Salma Hayek. But that's not all they own. They own French football clubs, they own historic French wine estates and multiple vineyards. They have a very extensive art collection. We'll get there. And a portfolio of luxury brands, one of them specifically being Kering, which umbrellas all the brands the elites basically wear. Gucci, Saint Laurent, Balenciaga. The family also owns the French news magazine Le Point. Talk about controlling the narrative. They also own a website called Christie's Auction House, which this is what it looks like when opening their website. Looks very rich, looks very 1%, looks very elite. However, when you go to the search bar and you type in Jake and Dino's Chapman, you begin to find some very disturbing art, some referencing cannibalism, some referencing children with human parts on their face. In fact, some of it is so explicit that it's not available in my region. There are multiple questionable pieces of art on this website that are extremely concerning. Statues of children running through the woods, some with 2 heads, some with 4 heads, again with body parts on their faces. There's a bunch of pictures and references of witchcraft. Let's just say some of this artwork kind of mirrored what Salma Hayek dressed up as for Halloween not that long ago. It's just pretend, right? Right. It's just pretend. We know Salma Hayek and Kim Kardashian are close. Even after the Balenciaga scandal, Kim K still never wavered her loyalty to Salma. In fact, you know that $5 million Basquiat painting that was accidentally leaked by Kris Jenner? It's actually alleged that Christie's Auction House was where she purchased the painting back in 2017. Here is the said painting that Kim purchased for around $5 million. And by the way, this is the same night they had Ariana Grande over for that Wicked premiere sleepover party. And it's just interesting with what they claim Basquiat and his art was capable of and what has happened to Ariana Grande since taking the role of Glinda. It really makes me wonder what is happening to these celebrities.
Thank you for coming this evening, Joe. Is it really possible to see through someone else's eyes or sense through their senses?
Actually, we're not sure exactly how it works, but it is possible to report on the position or place that they're located.
And how accurate is it?
Over a number of times, about 4,000 plus times that I've been tested in a lab under lab conditions, I'm running about 25 to 28% of the time I get the target.
And that's a very good success rate?
Yes, usually when I'm on the target, I'm around 85% correct on the information I provide.
Thank you. I'm going to come back to you in a moment. A few days ago, we set up an extremely detailed and complex experiment to test Joe's remote viewing capabilities. It was designed by scientists to ensure that he didn't have any inkling of it beforehand. Only one person in Britain knew the details, and to be extra safe, that person was sent miles away before the test began. One, two, 4 sealed envelopes. 4. Which one will he choose? Number 4. The die says number 4. The envelope contains the secret location for his part in this remote viewing experiment.
Okay, so this video is going to be about 5 minutes long. I need you guys to stay because after this video, I want to show you guys some information about how the CIA actually used remote viewing to try to find an important object that was represented in the Old Testament, important object from the Old Testament that they tried to find. Okay. Matter of fact, I'll just tell you, they tried to look for the Ark of the Covenant, okay, using remote viewing. And this is crazy because now you have the question, why does the government want to have the Ark of the Covenant? And also, why are they using spiritual tactics to receive the Ark of the Covenant? And that clarifies that not only does these individuals believe in the spiritual world, they're willing to use spiritual powers for their own desires and their will and the things that they want to see done. Okay. But first, let's watch this and then we'll go into that video.
Okay. Meanwhile, Joe McGonigal is on his way to a specially prepared room monitored by security cameras, where he'll be locked away while he attempts to demonstrate his extraordinary ability. He'll never be out of sight of one of our cameras. For the first time for anyone actually involved in the experiment, the site of the remote viewing is now revealed. Joe's used to all the paraphernalia. He's been tested thousands of times by US government agencies under strict laboratory conditions.
Dr. Solis Herrera essentially says that the water within your body, which is different than the H2O that you drink in bottled water, this is H3O2 that hydrates your fascia, hydrates your lymph, it's all over your body. And he essentially says that the melanin acts like a receiver of light, right? And melanin has the ability to split molecules and then reorganize them back together. And every time that this splitting and reorganizing happens, an orgasm, an explosion, and then a reorganizing, essentially there's free electrons that are being produced. And the reason why this is so against the mainstream is because they tell us that there's glucose metabolism. We need to eat, and then ATP, mitochondria. He says this is not the case. This is further supported by people like HRM, who was actually supervised by a group of over 20 doctors in India, and they found that after 411 days, his body was perfectly fine with no food. So it makes you think he was a breatharian and a sun gazer, and claimed that he gained all of his energy and a lack of hunger from looking at the sun and from absorbing the light from the sun. So it makes you think, is light and water the primary source of energy and consciousness for the human body? Or is it glucose metabolism, mitochondria, and then ATP production?
You can have somebody squat 500 pounds, they still can bounce like a stick. This video here, the Japanese scientist is trying to demonstrate how the body actually flows through space. If I replace this stick with a nunchuck, which is a two-sectional staff, just like how our joint is, and we toss that nunchuck on the ground, do you think the nunchuck will magically jump over the bar? No. Why? It's no longer one unit. And this is a fundamental physics reason of why we need to train our fascia. Because the fascia will ensure, even though we have multiple joints in the ankle, in the knee, in the hip, we can still remain as one unit. That is done through fascial wrapping. That is not done through mere muscles. When the stick hits the ground, because it can transmit energy. Remember, it's just a stick. It's the same thing with our human body. You look at the elite jumpers, do they have the biggest muscles? It's really about myofascial force transmission. So the more integrated you are, you can stay like a stick, the better you're going to bounce off the ground.
Ozempic, a popular drug, and nobody seems to care about the side effects.
Well, the side effects are not they're the effects of taking that. What that drug does, and we've already tested it, and we have found nanotechnology in. Yes, it's loaded with two-dimensional graphene oxide, ferric oxide. It's a poison. What it does is it destroys your internal environment. When that happens, you're going to start losing weight. Absolutely. It's destroying the blood. You're losing weight. It's destroying your intestinal villi, which is your root system in your small intestine. That's where the primary stem cells are made. They're called erythroblasts. Erythroblasts become erythrocytes. That doesn't happen. So what happens when you're on these sad diets, the standard American diets. You know, I call them diets because it has the word die in it. You want to go on a diet? I don't recommend diets. I recommend live-its. You want to live? Don't go on a diet. Because what diets do is they destroy your root system. And when that's destroyed, the body stops producing blood. Now listen to me closely. If you're not producing blood in the primary side, in the crypts of the small intestine, the body goes into reverse transformation. This happens when you fast as well. Because when you don't put food in there, the body can't make blood.
All right. Okay. Is everything okay for you?
Oh, yes. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a minute to 10:15. We'll be starting in a minute.
Accurate timing is important. The person transmitting must be in precisely the right place when Joe starts his remote viewing.
The person who's out there at the site at the moment.
So for the remote viewing, it's as if the guy that is sitting in this chair is going to be looking through the eyes of this other individual, and he's going to draw out what he sees from sitting in this chair. The other individual, what that person is seeing, he's going to attempt to draw it. Okay, so that's essentially what remote viewing is. You can see through someone else's eyes, the lenses of someone else's mind. Crazy. This is crazy spiritual stuff, but this is stuff that they tap into, and this is what the government used. And we don't know. They may still be using it today. We don't know. But this is crazy. Let's watch more of this.
Okay. And you never met him before, have you?
No, I've never met him before.
This is the only information that Joe gets. It's something to concentrate on.
Okay. First impression that I'm getting is of a, what I would call an inside corner. And there's two light colored stripes on either side.
Shaw Taylor is on the north bank of the River Thames, opposite a dockside, a power station, and a railway bridge.
What I'm doing is I'm essentially, it's almost like tasting food. I'm just kind of reaching out there mentally and tasting things. I'm trying to concentrate on him and perceive what it is he's looking at. It's easy to get distracted and get information on a lot of other things in the area. I want to mix half circles with straight lines. My sense of it is some kind of a raised object, perhaps. It's starting to look a lot like a bridge, but I don't want to call it a bridge.
Okay.
I don't want to call it a bridge yet. Looks a lot like a bridge, but I don't know if this is a walkway or if this is actually a waterway. This could be water as well. I think the essential elements are vertical pillars or supports, somehow or another a going away perspective passes under this.
At this point, it's quite likely that he's stopped looking. That's what we asked him at this moment, so yeah, we'll go with that then.
I'll go with number 4.
He's on his way to the location to see for himself how accurate he's been, and to meet Shaw Taylor for the first time.
My pleasure to greet Joe. Joe, good to see you.
Well, to meet you.
Good to see you. I feel I've been talking to you for the past half hour or so.
Hopefully you have.
The moment of truth.
Water? You've got water, certainly. Up here? Now, I tell you what is very interesting, because I know the bridge. And I was very much aware of trains passing over it.
Yeah.
So I must confess it is quite possible. I'm not trying to stretch it too...
No, I kept getting a great throughway with some kind of the arches or something at the end.
The incredible thing is that he could have described anything in London. A churchyard, a stadium, a park, a railway station, almost anything. But it was water and a bridge, just as Shaw could see it.
What do we have now? We now know, with peer-reviewed study, that bees are testing with 70 times more aluminum in their system than what it takes to cause Alzheimer's or dementia in a human being. It's a wonder any of them are alive.
70 times more. And this is important as well. When you have somebody from some agency who's paid to lie, who tells you it's normal to have aluminum everywhere because it's a very abundant element, that is a lie of inaccuracy. Aluminum is very abundant in the environment, yes, but it does not exist in the environment in free form. It doesn't exist in free form. It must be mined and refined and sprayed for it to be scattered everywhere in the environment, and that's exactly what's happening. It's not just the bees that are dying. Every single one of us is being contaminated. These materials are bioavailable. They're building up in our systems, and it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It doesn't matter. It's a fact. We have the lab test to prove it. There will be no hiding this issue much longer. And what does it appear? The chemical signature for what's showing up in rain tests matches coal fly ash, a substance that the EPA has told us is not harmful. They've been trying desperately to get rid of, and it seems to suit the purposes for geoengineering, and evidence is increasingly indicating that toxic coal fly ash may be one of the base materials they're using to spray because it gives them plausible deniability.
What's some of the most successful PSYOPs you've seen conducted that are complete now? That you could maybe dive us in, that we could dive into and you could explain, from start to finish what the end product was.
Our school system was one of the biggest, and how westernized systems of elementary, middle, and high school were organized. When the U.S. was first getting started, this guy, I can't remember his name, but he was in charge of this stuff. So he is going to be the first head of the Department of Education and create this education system that's going to be nationwide. He goes and learns, he flies to Europe and learns from all these people who developed something called the Prussian education system, which in the Department of Education's founding documents, which were some written by this guy, was turn schools into factories that make good workers. I'm paraphrasing that, but the word factories was there. School is just a factory to manufacture people for the workforce and the people that are obedient and all of this. So the Prussian education system was meant so that workers are manufactured and people didn't question the king. That was the big thing. So if I have to get a whole country to adopt a system that's probably not in your best interest, then I've got to do some work with PR. I've got to work with this Edward Bernays guy maybe, or I've got to do something to get people to adopt that belief. So this system was made, like standing up in the morning was the first thing we do every day. I pledge allegiance to the flag every day. And then we sit down, we're told what to do, where to sit. We don't really do a lot of creative thinking. Can you memorize this and can you spit it back out? Can I teach you this one thing? Can you spit it back out? Let me teach you geometry so you can cut wood, or so that you can square off a corner when you become a kitchen remodeling guy, whatever that is. The adoption, the way that our country adopted that is one of the most successful PSYOPs ever.
Rolling Stone's first U.S. album had 5 songs that were written by black artists. They were covers. The second and third had 7 songs that were written by black artists. These were cover bands. The Animals, on their first and second albums, they had 9 songs that were written by black artists. On their best of CD, 9 of the songs are covers and 2 are originals. This is a PSYOP. It's hot garbage. Most of the Beatles fans don't know that their most famous songs were covers, and just like with Elvis Presley fans, they don't care. The only charge we can claim to carry is making black music more marketable to white kids. The Beatles did that with the blues. NSYNC did that with rap. The Justins did that with R&B. Taylor Swift did that with folk. Post Malone did that with country. Benson Boone's doing that with pop music. The only difference is during the British invasion, the theft was unparalleled. I mean, black musicians were coming in the middle of the night replaying all the parts. This was going on for decades. No one even gave a shit. After funk music takes over at the height of the white hippie movements, the black power movements, and the anti-Vietnam War movements, everything we've ever seen or heard in America has been filtered through that lens. And black creators can tell you about it a lot better than I can. I'm late to the party. I didn't grow up with it politically. I do know it sounds something like desegregating society, eroded black cultural values and communities. But rest in peace, D'Angelo. He's right. White artists do not plan on passing the torch down, and it ends up burning burning them alive, robbing thick, and yeah, you always overstay your welcome if the only way you got in was busting down the door, robbing thick.
Then you go down into what the elders taught us with Alabama, so on and so forth, being Lower Egypt. Then you get into Memphis, Tennessee, the Memphite theology. Kentucky, King Tut. And then you start to look a little further, and then you find out that there was an archaeological cover-up involving the Smithsonian Institute, where they found thousands and thousands of artifacts. They found artifacts showing human beings contemporary with dinosaurs. A lot of this information they put on ships and dumped into the Atlantic Ocean. Some of it they got still in hidden chambers that they say you can't go in there because it got asbestos and it's unsafe. These are part of the Grand Canyon where they have all Egyptian names, Tet, Osiris, Isis, and they got that part blocked off. They said it's too dangerous for the people to go there. To this day, this exists.
Okay, so it's been months and there's still no word about Ethan Guo, the 19-year-old who took his Cessna, landed in Antarctica without permission, and the Chilean authorities detained him for over 90 days. Then they made him pay $30,000 to get released, but they ended up keeping his plane and made him leave by ship to go back to Chile, and now nobody's heard from him. Okay, if y'all don't remember the details, let me run it back real quick. Ethan, 19-year-old pilot, very young pilot, builds a great social media following because he wants to go to all 7 continents. Already hits about 60 countries because this man is trying to raise money for research because his cousin had Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? Ends up getting to Chile, supposed to go across Punta Arenas, ends up getting the permit for that, but he says he has a plane malfunction, ends up landing at a base, a Chilean base in Antarctica. Because I don't know if you guys know, there's over 30 countries with bases in Antarctica, even though you're not allowed to go there. Yeah, you could take a tour, but you can't just decide, oh, I'm gonna go to Antarctica. That's not how it works over there. And the reason that's why is because they're hiding something, but we'll get there in a second. Anyways, ends up landing there, and the Chilean authorities come out and they're like, what are you doing here? You have no business here. And he's like, no, I told y'all I had an issue with my plane and y'all said I could land here. They were like, nope, you're getting detained. And then after they detained him, they say he lost all this weight. Mind you, mans was already slim, lost all this weight. He was pretty much being, you know, interrogated for like why he was there. I guess they thought that he had something else going on and he was off, but ended up having to donate over $30,000 in order to leave. They kept his plane. They said that they were taking him back to Chile on a ship to where he could leave. Never heard of him since. This man has a social media following, grew a big following, and yet he has not posted since before he was detained. So a lot of people are trying to figure out, what did he see when he got there? Why did they detain him? What did he experience that made him lose so much weight? And on top of that, if he was released, why hasn't he posted? Whether or not they kept his plane, what is it that he saw, and why hasn't he been able to come out and just keep up with his social media to at least inform his followers of his entire experience? Or even if he would say, oh, I can't talk about it, but hey guys, I'm back. Nothing, not a word whatsoever. Now back to the mysteries of Antarctica, because there are so many theories when it comes to hollow earth, Rupert Sneaker, more land, gateways, hidden civilizations, down to the doppelgangers. I don't know what's what, but what I can tell you is these countries are always in a power struggle. They are never in agreement. They're willing to go to war, but when it comes to Antarctica, there's over 30 bases that share that one space. They're willing to keep out the general population because of whatever's going on up there, it's worth them agreeing on it. And I don't know what it is, but I know it's something that's being hidden from us.
What's crazy is, even in Jerusalem, it was not initially called Jerusalem. It was called Jerusalem. It was called Jerusalem. It was called everything but Jerusalem. The Greeks came in and changed the name. The Europeans. Morocco was founded in 1956. In Egypt, in Africa, was not initially called Egypt. It was Kemet. After it was Kemet, they changed the name to Aegyptus. After the Greeks came in and they started switching shit around, they switched the name from Aegyptus to Egypt. And what I find even more mind-boggling about this is Egypt is a couple of cities in America to this day. And not only that, there's a special city called Little Egypt. And the reason why it's called Little Egypt is because of its relation to the story of the land of Goshen in the Bible, and how all the people from the north moved toward the south when there was this famine or this dry spell where the crops were not growing. And they all come to where? The Mississippi River, or should I say the Nile River. Y'all don't find it strange? Y'all don't find that weird? I can't be the only one. I can't be the only one. I'm just saying, it's real odd that sacred lands, that the name of sacred lands are on old maps of America. I find it odd that even the name of the Nile River is on an old map of America, right next to Egypt. I find it funny that a city in America has a reference to a Bible story, a sacred text. Y'all don't find that funny? Y'all don't find that suspicious? What I find even more interesting is when you look at these old maps, even the directions are flipped. Even the directions are flipped. And that is on purpose. They flipped everything because they didn't want us to find our origin. They didn't want us to find ourselves. This is the old world. We are the original people. They know it.
Bro, what are you talking about, man? If we are forgotten, then Artemis has been successful. We have humans on Mars. We have humans out on the moons of Saturn. We are expanding in the solar system. We have... Maybe we've invented something that we never even dreamed of, and maybe we inspired some kid somewhere, and maybe that's our footnote. We inspired Susie or Johnny to do what they did. That would be magical. There are stressful moments and there are fun moments. There's a lot of laughter. And when you laugh in space to the point where you cry tears of joy, they just stick right in your eyeballs. And I always thought that was hilarious.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
I hope that's what we feel when we splash down on Artemis 2. And that will be a magical, I keep saying magical. That'll be a great moment.
Magic.
So today we're going to hit on a video by Scott Lubick on EMF paint, and you guys are going to want to watch this one. Check this out, paint with copper in it to block the EMFs. Now someone's going to go, well, what happened to the lead paint? The government banned it, which we'll talk about, but here's the copper paint. Look at that, 25% copper blocks EMFs. Now someone's going to say, well, why do we got to block EMF? Well, the government loves putting these out, causing pandemics actually. The government also put chemicals in the water supply to corrode everybody's copper pipes to get them to switch to plastic, so they're no longer protected from EMF. So those same chemicals that corrode copper pipes also corrode lead pipes. Isn't that interesting? Now let's talk about some more coincidences. 1973, first rollout of cell phone, and people start getting sick. Just a few years later, the government decides to ban the lead paint. Must be just a coincidence because you could actually shield your home. Then in 1991, they tried to get rid of all copper and lead pipes to switch us to DuPont plastic. What will we do without them? And then this pedophile came along in 1996 and put together a lawsuit protection act for cell phones. If they put a cell phone tower in front of your house, or if it harms you, you can't sue for damages. So on that note, we kind of know who the culprit is of trying to get rid of the copper, get rid of the lead, and probably the asbestos too, because how would you burn things down if people still had asbestos in their home?
Pardon my ignorance, what is the disease you described, the other one? Rickettsia?
So it's a rickettsia. It is the same organism that causes Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and that's the most deadly tick-borne disease in the United States. It also was a germ that was being weaponized by the U.S. military at the time, and they tried to stuff it in ticks. I mean, so what is tick weaponization? So in the interviews with Willie, what he said was, I spent over a decade in the biological weapons program, a contractor to Fort Detrick, working on weaponizing fleas, ticks, and mosquitoes, trying to mass produce them. Stuffing fleas with the plague, stuffing mosquitoes with deadly Trinidad virus, and then stuffing ticks with either deadly or incapacitating diseases like relapsing fever, Venezuelan equine encephalitis, rabies, leptospirosis, which is another spirochete. So it's just like Dr. Strangelove trying to make new diseases, mixing bacteria and virus in ticks with the intent of, this is the perfect stealth weapon. It's poor man's nuke. You drop these insects on an enemy. It weakens the population. It ties up the medical resources, but doesn't destroy infrastructure. like a nuclear bomb would. And in one report from a bean counter in the military, they said, tularemia, which is tick-borne tularemia, also rabbit fever, we can kill 10,000 people at $1.33 a life. So anyways, it was just, there was more to tick-borne diseases than we realized, and I began suspecting that Willie was right, given this context.
See, before the parade, kids used to dress up as homeless people and beg for change and candy. And while you might think that's not a very politically correct holiday, I found it a little odd that Macy's wanted to get rid of it in 1924. Turns out, in the early 1900s, the New York elite's attitude towards the ragamuffin kids was becoming increasingly hostile, so they created the parade as a clean and safe alternative to the ragamuffin tradition. But they didn't care about safety, because when the ragamuffin kids kept coming back, some of them would end up dead. Some New York elites even resorted to heating up pennies on stovetops and leaving them out so the ragamuffin kids would burn their fingers, the type of careless use of the penny that led to its demise. But kids were a lot tougher back then, and the ragamuffin tradition held on, until the New York elites went where no one thought they could, the Great Depression. They realized the only way to destroy Ragamuffin Day was to turn the world into Ragamuffin Day. No one would want to pretend to beg when that was part of everyday life, and slowly the ragamuffin tradition died out as the parade gained popularity. And maybe you think that's for the best. It would be crazy to start every Thanksgiving with kids dressed up as homeless people begging for candy. But is it any crazier than a Buzz Lightyear float helping Macy's sell a few extra t-shirts? At least Ragamuffin Day makes sense. The parade is one elaborate marketing scheme we're all a part of, but none of us understand.
We now turn to draft resolution 3, elimination of all forms of racial discrimination. A roll call vote has been requested on this draft resolution.
Abstention. Abstention, Greece.
Abstention.
Abstention, Grenada. Yes. Yes, Guatemala. Abstention. Abstention, Guinea.
Yes.
Yes, Guinea-Bissau. Yes. Yes, Guyana.
Yes.
Yes, Haiti. No, Honduras.
No.
No, Hungary.
Yes.
Yes, Iceland. No. No, India.
Yes.
Yes, Indonesia.
Yes.
Yes, Iran.
Oui.
Yes, Iraq.
Yes.
Yes, Ireland. No. No, Israel.
No.
No, Italy.
No.
No, Ivory Coast.
No.
No, Jamaica.
Abstention.
Abstention. Union of Soviet Socialist Republics.
Yes.
Yes, United Arab Emirates.
None.
Yes, with the delegate, thank you. United Kingdom.
No.
No, United Republic of Cameroon.
Oui.
Yes, United Republic of Tanzania.
Si.
Yes, United States.
No.
German Democratic Republic.
Yes.
Yes, Germany, Federal Republic of.
No.
No.
Anyways, I presented some identities, okay, of certain ICE agents located specifically in Chicago. A group that I associate myself with went through some public records and found over 2,000 ICE agents, right? Well, throughout those 2,000 ICE agents, specifically 121 of them, right, had experience as an ex-IDF soldier. If you went up and down this entire list of individuals, you'd notice that their last names in particular, right, all lead back to one specific location with no other job experience. And maybe it won't let me post it because it's personal information, I have no idea. But there's literally a whole motherfucking list of these people and they all look the same. Which tells me exactly why they're choosing to hide their faces, because just imagine, right, if some information like that were to get out. Which is why I'm making this video once again. I'm just saying, if you look into the background of these specific individuals, you might notice that they're not exactly a US citizen. That in itself would prove everything, especially why they're acting the way.
Do you feel like you're sounding the alarm
Yes.
for people that don't understand what the fuck is going on?
So here, I'll pull it up for you here, yeah? So there's the video.
Yeah.
I don't know if your camera can see that, but
no.
There's the video. There's him speaking about it.
The G7 is launching a set of public policy principles for retail central bank digital currencies, CBDCs.
Central bank digital currencies could be a digital version of money, a bit like a digital banknote that could be used alongside...
Right, so that's the guy who runs our economy in the UK. His name's the Chancellor of the Exchequer. And here is the article. Bank of England tells ministers to intervene on digital currency programming, yeah? And here's a quote from the article. This is in the Telegraph, the one he pulled up, but it was behind a paywall, so I'll just read the quote. Digital cash could be programmed to ensure it is only spent on essentials or goods which an employer or government deems to be sensible.
Holy shit.
Now, I'm going to take it one step further for you, Joe, right? So the vaccine passport infrastructure is in place. But now we know that the vaccine doesn't stop infection or transmission, but the checkpoint Charlie exists everywhere. They bring in digital banking, central banking digital currencies. You've got a scenario now that you're checking in and out everywhere you go using vouchers that are programmed and you can only spend where you're told you can spend them. There's another word for that, man. That's called the Chinese social credit system. That's what it's called. And anyone who watches Black Mirror will know what I'm talking about. That's that TV show, right?
Yeah.
So what they are telling us, and when I say they, who's they? People in power. That's the head of our economy, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, second most powerful person other than the Prime Minister and maybe the Foreign Secretary in the UK, right? He's telling us, I just played it there for you, he's telling us that's what he, as the UK, the head of the G7, want to bring in for the G7. So a scenario where, like in New York at the moment, because the passport infrastructure is in place, you bring in that digital currency and you've got this total control. And if I'm speaking to you the way I'm speaking now, and my employer or government, you heard that in the quote directly, yeah, deems me as saying or doing something inappropriate, suddenly I can't actually pay to come here and speak to you anymore. My digital currency won't even pay for the ticket because it will be known that I'm coming to speak to you. Sorry, your vouchers don't allow you to purchase that ticket to go and speak to Joe.
Why is all this happening? Well, I think that the Palestine cause is absolutely central. The Palestine cause, as we all know here, is based on nothing other than the destruction of the Jewish state. But more than that, it is also based on stealing the Jews' own history in the land from them. But the Palestine cause has become the cause of causes in the West, which of course is in the business of destroying its own core values, which come from Judaism. No coincidence. In my view, the Palestine cause is a form of holy war, Islamic holy war, and it is a Trojan horse for the Islamization of the West. By adopting the language and the moral inversion of the Palestine cause, the West has bought into the agenda for its own destruction at the hands of Islam. This is a death wish by the West. And if you have a death wish, you cannot fight a death cult, which is what the West is facing in the forces of Islam. It cannot fight it because it no longer knows what it is. The West no longer has the will to defend itself because it no longer knows what that means. And insofar as it ever knew what it means, it has tried to destroy it by telling itself that the West is to be hated. This has created a vacuum into which has marched the Islamists to conquer the West because the West is paralyzed.
Israel's pouring millions of dollars into ChatGPT and other AI systems to bolster Christian support in America. And in doing so becomes the first country to openly bribe AI. Christian support for Israel in America is declining, and the Israeli government is pouring $90 million into the history of Christianity on ChatGPT, changing ancient names to Israel and emphasizing Jewish culture in the Bible. Now, the U.S. has already signed off on allowing the Israeli government to buy up contracts with AI, again, the only country that can do so, and they're now looking to make people religiously believe and support Israel through AI answers. Also partnered with YouTube to alter search results. All things that the Trump administration has signed off on and allowed the Israeli government to invest in.
Facebook started as a DARPA program called LifeLog to where the government would monitor you through social media, but that failed and shut down on February 4th, 2004. Pentagon kills LifeLog Project, so-called LifeLog Project, ambitious effort to build a database tracking persons' entire existence. That very same day, Facebook was launched, February 4th, 2004. DARPA was originally ARPA, the government's Advanced Research Project Agency. Now known as DARPA, it created the foundation for the internet through its development of ARPANET in 1960.
The 7 Jew banking families that took over control of the money in America in 1913 was the Rothschilds of London, Israel Schiff of Italy, Kuhn&Loeb of Germany, the Warburgs of Hamburg, Lehman Brothers of New York, Goldman Sachs of New York, and the Rockefellers of New York. A lot of people, they don't realize and know that these 7 Jewish families actually control all the money and have controlled the money in this country since 1913. I know you're aware of this. Now, in doing so, I mean, that makes a pretty big purse, doesn't it?
Listen, you know, the goyim are the schleppers.
What?
You know, they do all the work. That's what they want to do. They want to work. They always want jobs, so we give them jobs to work. The Jews don't work.
He ain't lying. Let's talk about slavery. I don't give a fuck how much money you got. I don't give a fuck where you been. We're still on the plantation, brother. The privilege that they give black people, that only black people can flex on other black people with, because that's all you can do.
Thank you.
You can't flex on the motherfucking master, because he gave it to you. Go out there and flex on your people, because if you flex on me, your ass is in trouble. And what you got, that's my fuck up money. I spend that in taxes. So go be a king to your own people. But don't come over here and act like you're a king to us. And if I catch you biting and snapping back at me, I'm gonna take that shit from you, embarrass you, and make your people talk about you and turn on you again. That's what they do to us with that shit. You know you can't take it with you. You don't own this shit. That's the only fucked up thing about having something more than your own people. You can only flex on your own people.
I want to take a moment to give flowers to black people. Let's make it weird for a second. How the fuck you take 400 years of oppression, suffering, violence, thievery, brutality, dehumanization, and make that shit so fucking dope the world wants to consume it. The world wants to wear it. The world wants your stamp of approval that they deserve to take up space in the fucking trauma conversation. The amount of people around the world that I've met that want the past to say the N-word is fucking hilarious. If they knew any conception as to how bad life still is in the projects, life still is on the other side of the red line tax bracket zone, that this country still perpetuates its culture to be superior upon your body through, and yet you make it look so fucking good. People didn't even know you were hurting. I want to take a moment to really just give black people flowers, man, because this world owes everything that it is to the struggles that your people have fucking gone through and brought into this language, because the slave traders, the thieves, the fucking slave masters stole yours. You are fucking brilliant. There's genius in your melanin that the world is still scared to let you know exists. So I want to take a moment to just give black people your fucking flowers, because I know that my people don't know how to. But if they're anything like me when I was a kid, like they want to. And they know that they should.